August is like one of my favorite months because it's hot and because I like the heat. But it's interesting because when the heat is something external, when it's just about weather, there's things we can do to cool off. There are ways that we can cool down by maybe going indoors where there's air conditioning, jumping in a pool, going to the beach, doing something like that. But believe me when I tell you that when the theme for the month, this month is, it's hot, or it's hot in here, I'm not talking about the weather. I'm talking about situations in life where we might get hot, meaning filled with anger, or where situations are so close that we are steaming, or where situations are so close to home that it is personal, and it's hot, and it's uncomfortable, and we just don't feel right in our skin, and there's nothing that we can do to relieve that feeling, that sense of being uncomfortable, that sense of something has to change, something's got to give, we've got to move into a different location, to a different state of consciousness, to a different awareness. So when I'm talking about it's hot, I'm talking about recalling in your own mind for a moment situations that you wish you could have handled differently. It could be something that you're currently in. It could be something from the past. But as we explore The Eye of the Storm by Gary Simmons this month, he speaks specifically to embracing conflict and creating peace. I was told once, because I don't know how to read the Chinese characteristics, but I was told that there's a Chinese characteristic around conflict that is a combination of two things. Opportunity, meaning that we have an opportunity to grow and unfold, an opportunity to really move forward, and danger. So opportunity and danger exist in conflict, in that characteristic, that Chinese characteristic of conflict. And when we think about conflict in our own life, we can definitely take a look at how it is indeed an opportunity to move forward, or it also presents this danger that if in fact we don't necessarily handle it correctly or handle it wisely or move into it from a state of consciousness of there's nothing opposing me and that life is for me and not against me, that in fact we're entering the danger zone. And that as we enter into that danger zone, things can go awry. And that as we enter that danger zone, if in fact we are reacting instead of responding, we are actually projecting into our future something that we may not want. See, as we look at the law of attraction and as we look at how life works, whatever it is that I'm thinking or being or doing now is a direct result of something that I was thinking or doing from my past. Where I am today is a direct result of my past. And what I do here right now directly influences my future. So it sets me up. What I do right here and right now, what I'm thinking right here, right now, what I create in my internal mind right here and right now sets up what's going to happen in the future. That's why the future is almost so easy to predict, Gary Simmons talks about. Because what it is that I'm doing now and what I'm setting up for myself right here is going to lay out in the future. That's why our prayer is so indeed powerful. Because that which we are focused upon is that which we receive. So it's almost like creating twice. As I create it here in my own consciousness, in my own state of being, then I create it externally. So it's created internally, and then it is created and manifested externally. And so when we look at conflict and when we look at creating peace, we have an opportunity to create peace from the current conflict that's occurring in our life. We have an opportunity to do that if, in fact, what we believe and what we know and what we practice is that there is nothing opposing us. When we know, when we believe and we live from this place that the universe is conspiring for my good. You see, too many times, only because we've been conditioned so, because we've been socialized to be this way, and then what we do is, instead of owning our own stuff, we just say, well, that's how I was raised, and that's what I was taught, so that's what I'm going to continue to do, because that's just the way it is. Our part in this is that we take at face value that which we were taught or socialized or conditioned to think and believe, and we wear it, we carry it with us, we live from that place instead of examining it and looking at it and seeing it for what it's worth. Does it really work? Are people really out to get me? Or is that something that I've been taught? Have I been watching too much television? Have I been brainwashed by society, by race consciousness, to believe that there is an otherness outside of the one power, one presence, one life that is God, that is having its expression in, through, and as my life? Am I really living from the place that my life is indeed that life that God is? Therefore, there is nothing that could ever oppose it. Or do I really believe in separation? Because really, that's the bottom line. When I believe that I'm separate from you, you talking to me? You talking to me? When I believe that you are separate from me, that when I believe that we're not one, when I believe it's us and them, when a conflict arises, you talking to me? And that doesn't come from a place of creating peace. That comes from my deep instilled belief that we're separate. Because if indeed I believed that we were one, and that you are simply the way God is expressing beautifully and magnificently, I wouldn't come from that place of you talking to me. I would know that we're creating peace. I would know that there's harmony. I would know that there's love and kindness. I would know that there's abundance because I'm living from that place of oneness, because I'm steeped in this truth and this knowing. But it is indeed when we are not steeped in this idea of our oneness and our wholeness, that it has already been given, that our life is indeed that life that God is, and it is expressing in, through, and as each and every one of us beautifully and magnificently right now. It's when I am thinking something other than that, that when conflict arises, or seeming conflict arises, that I'm coming from that place of separation, that I enter the danger zone, and that instead of creating peace, I create some otherness. I create more danger, more conflict. So how is it that we as spiritual people, what are we to do and how are we to begin to live in order to create and to know and to be steeped in this wholeness? I was listening to my brother Josh Reeves at the Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living. He was speaking at a Sillamar this week. And one of the things that stood out to me about his particular talk, and maybe we've all experienced it, and maybe just some of us have experienced it because some of us have ascended and we don't get to experience that anymore. But he talked about being in that place where we know that somebody's against us, or that somebody's lying upon us, or that somebody did us wrong, or that somebody is just messing with us just to mess with us. When we kind of know, even though we have no evidence to prove it, but we know she did it. We know he took it. We know he was talking about me. We know that they're doing it right now, where we just kind of know, and we're in that place of, oh. And the question is, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong? Why do I think and feel that way? Isn't it because indeed I believe in separation more than I believe in our oneness and our wholeness? Isn't it because I believe that we're separate from one another? Isn't it because I believe that God is somewhere outside of me, that my wholeness is outside of me, that my peace is outside of me, that my joy is outside of me, that my abundance is outside of me, that my serenity is outside of me? It is indeed because I believe that you are out to get me, or that the world opposes me, or that there's something that's happening against me. It's because somewhere or another, someone told me a lie and I believed it, and I carry it with me like it's some Louis Vuitton or Prada or True Religion. You know, I carry it with me like it's a gold bullion and it has value, when in fact, it is a lie that I have picked up and taken with me and use it and live from that place. In the first chapter, Gary Simmons he's writing about a story, something that happened to him, but someone asked him, can you see how everything that is for you or against you has its roots within you? Everything that is for you or against you has its roots within you. What is it that you believe? Where is it coming from? If it's for you, it originates here. If it's against you, it originates here. There's nothing outside of us. It all originates within me. And that's why, too, my talk title, when I say, you talking to me, is really about being in your face. And it's hot in here because sometimes, this month we may get a little uncomfortable, because the bottom line is that whatever it is that I think or believe originates within me. It originates with the person sitting in your seat. So if you like what you're getting, continue to do what you do. But if you don't like what you're getting, it starts with you. It starts and ends with you. It originates within you. He says, as you have learned, your wholeness cannot be found outside of you. Are you also willing to see that lack and abundance are not outside of you either? We can't go around blaming others for our lack, or praising others for our abundance even. It's all based on the internal. Can you see that your struggle for wholeness and worth has been predicated upon the belief that there are opposing forces at work in your life? Do people, your wife, your children, your parents, colleagues, friends, or even strangers on the street hold a measure of your well-being hostage? Is your well-being held hostage by someone outside of you? Is your wholeness being held by someone outside of you? Oh, it's getting hot in here. It's getting hot. Because we can no longer blame the world of effects or that outside of us, for there is only one. And the level, to the degree of which I believe that I'm separate from God, or separate from humanity, or separate from the whole, it is to that degree that I suffer. Because there is nothing, no thing that could possibly be against us, for there's only the one. There's only one. One life, one presence. Yes, it expresses as each and every one of us. But when I believe and I'm steeped in that oneness, when I'm steeped in the knowing that life is just simply happening, it is indeed a flow. And there are situations which present themselves for my growth, for the opportunity for me to grow, the opportunity for me to see, the opportunity for you to see where you still believe in separation, where you still believe in lack, where you still believe in limitations. That's what these situations present themselves, so that we might see where we still believe in separation and clean it up and clear it up and make the adjustment. And in your attempts to find yourself, to get what you need or feel safe and okay, must you first gain the cooperation, approval, or acceptance of others? Oops. In your attempt to gain the cooperation, approval, or acceptance of others, how many of us still seek to be good so that we might gain the approval of someone else, instead of simply standing in our own truth and showing up as God, as each and every one of us? It's learned behavior. It's learned from childhood on. And yet what happens is that we take that which we've learned back then that may have worked or maybe not, but we still carry it for today. I remember my third grade teacher, Miss Saltis, my third grade math teacher, Miss Kesselman. And I remember wanting to be so good. I was a chatterbox. Can you imagine that? Me, a chatterbox? I just, talking. And I remember one day it hit me that I wanted the approval of Miss Kesselman, my math teacher. And I remember she was handing out sheets of paper. She was coming to every desk. And I remember when this was sealed, I was sitting up like this. And when she came and put that sheet of paper on my desk, I pledged to her, because I wanted her approval, Miss Kesselman, I'm not going to be a chatterbox no more. Wanting the approval, seeking outside approval. Where do we learn that from? As adults, what we have an opportunity to do now is through our spiritual practice to recognize the oneness, the wholeness, to recognize that right where we are, God is. That God has created us out of itself. Therefore, that which is true of God is true about us. To recognize and acknowledge and approve of ourselves. To recognize the oneness and the wholeness that it lives here, that potentiality is living in, through, and as me. And that I am created in such a unique way that I am not duplicable. You are not duplicable. There's only one you. God is expressing uniquely as you in this form, in this fashion, never to be repeated again in the same fashion. And instead of us reveling in that, being joyful in that, expressing fully in that, I'm trying to be like Jane. And Jane's trying to be like Robert. And Robert's trying to be like Ed. And Ed's trying to be like Jim. And Jim's trying to be like Sonny. And Sonny trying to be like Joe. Nobody's being themselves. You see what I'm saying? No one is just being and standing in that firm, in that life, and that vigor, and saying, the life that I am is that life that God is. And I get to live it and express it in a beautiful and magnificent way, knowing that nothing can oppose me, because right where I am, God is. Right where I am, life is. Right where I am, eternality is. Right where I am, love, joy, beauty, magnificence is living in, through, and as me. I am it. It has already been given, and nothing can oppose it. Because if we were all doing the same, we would simply be recognizing and awakening to the truth of who we are. Therefore, our spiritual practice is so key and so important, because we indeed create conflict ourselves, thinking and believing and living from a place where somebody's out to get me, where there's an opposition or an opposing force, or resisting the flow of life itself. And we all know that what we resist persists. And that when we focus upon a particular thing, that is what is made manifest. So indeed, all of our great teachers, all of our avatars, have really stated that there's that you and God are a majority, because there's only the one. And it cannot oppose itself. Life cannot oppose itself. Life is always seeking to reveal itself, to express itself more fully. Mellow Daye could not be contained. She's just seeking to express her divine self by running and doing and being. She's not trying to be a Doberman pincher. She's just being and expressing her Terry Pooh self. And so it is with us, that as we begin to really dive deep into our spiritual practice, into our prayer, into our meditation, where we begin to simply express through sacred service, through our tithing, through our giving, through our redistributing our good, we begin to enjoy our life as the life that God is. We begin to be steeped in this knowing that there's nothing that can separate my life from the life that God is. I've done this before, but I want you to point to the part of who you are where God ends and your life begins. Can't do it. Because it's inseparable. Our life is this life that God is, and it has already been given. All has been given. So it is incumbent upon us to use each and every situation, whether we call it conflict, whether we call it opportunity, whether we think it's danger, to begin to create peace from the place of knowing that our life is that life that God is. Ernest Holmes says that there is one power, one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. Now, in this moment. One life. And nothing opposes that life. Nothing, no thing. So where are the places that call you to believe or to think that something is against you? Is it that you're not getting the job that you want, the car that you want, the life that you want, the love that you want, the abundance that you want, the peace that you want, the peace of mind that you want, the health and wholeness that you want? I'm going to step into it and say that it starts from within. And that if you're not getting exactly what it is you want, that you take a look at how you believe that you are separate from your wholeness, how you are separate from your abundance, how you believe that you are separate from peace and peace of mind, how you're separate from joy or love. I will venture to step out and say how there are probably times where you say to a friend or a neighbor, see, I told you I was jacked up. I told you love just runs from me. You see, there goes another one. Bye-bye. You see, I told you I can't hold down a job. You see, I always lose money. Venture to say that we are probably looking for all the ways to prove how we're not one. Instead of looking for all the ways that we are connected, looking for all the ways that life proves to us that we are having our living and our beingness in God, and that God is living in, through, and as us, that we are in God and God is in us, that we are inseparable. Inseparable. Yeah. That's what we are. Inseparable. There's no separation, and yet our verbiage, our language seems to prove and seems to point to separation, seems to point to an otherness, seems to point to an us and them. And this week, what I'm offering up is that we look at our language, that we look at all the ways that we're trying to prove some otherness, and that we switch that around and begin to say, see how abundant I am? I found a quarter on the floor. Look at that. I'm abundant. I'm abundant. Look, I just got a hug. Hello, I'm loved. And I am lovable. Hello. There it is. Look, that person smiled. I smiled back. Wow, we're one. Wow, I was able to get up and walk around today. I feel whole and healthy. Wow, I can know that 2 and 2 equals 4. I can figure something out. Wow, I have such a sharp mind. I live and have my beingness in the mind of God. I am intelligent. I am smart. All of my needs are met now. Wow, this joy that I feel. And the more we begin to focus right here on that which is true, and that's why our prayer, our meditation, our contemplation time, our time in the silence is so important, and that we use that time to know that this is our truth, because the more and more I do this in here, when I step out, that is exactly what's being created. And as I step into the future, what's known in time and space as the future, I will then manifest that which I created just a moment ago. If I continue to ponder while I'm driving in my car that there's an otherness, or that are people out to get me, when I come out of that car, that's exactly what I'm going to experience. So it is incumbent upon us, each of us, in as many moments as possible, to stay in that prayerful state, to stay in that state of knowing that there is no thing that opposes us except ourselves. We're the ones who create it. And you know what? We might have not put it there, but we sure are keeping it there. So it's mine. I might have not put it there, but you know what? I could say, excuse me, erase, replace it with the truth. It's my life. I'm the one responsible for it. I'm the one responsible for the content of my consciousness. And that's why we come here, to be reminded of this truth, to support one another in this truth, to have community, that we might come to community and be supported in knowing that right where we are, God is. That the love that God is, I am. That the joy that God is, you are. That there's nothing that separates you from the life that God is. So we're going to go into our quiet time. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to utilize these next few minutes to see ourselves in the light of the truth that we are. So as the room becomes dim, that light is internal. And we're going to shine the light on the truth of who we are. That we are God expressing in this human body. That we are the way God shows up on this planet. That right where I am, love is. Right where I am, peace is. Right where I am, abundance is. Right where I am, wholeness is. That I am the wholeness that I seek. I am the peace that I seek. I am the love that I seek. I am the joy that I seek. I am the harmony that I seek. I am the power that I seek. I am the wisdom that I seek. I am that which thou art, and thou art that which I am. There is no separation. So when seeming conflict arises for us, we are that place of peace. And we sit with that. I am that place of peace, that place of joy, that place of love, that place of wisdom. Right where I am, God is.